Hi, Steve here at BlessedHopeForever.com. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day. We have some ground to cover. 1897, First Zionist Congress. Forward 120 years to 2017, the Revelation 12 sign. 120 can symbolize a divinely appointed time of waiting. 1914 to 1918, World War I. The Ottoman Empire is defeated. It ended in 1917. You're going to hear more about that before the video's over. On September 11, 1922, the League of Nations formally proclaimed Britain's mandate over Palestine, and the Arabs declared a day of mourning. September 11. Think 9/11. I have some amazing facts to cover. So, 1939 to 1945, World War II. And in 1945, the nuclear era is born. 1933 to 1945 was the Jewish Holocaust. It extended over a period of 12 years. June 14, 1946, Trump is born. You're going to hear more about Trump. June 14 is U.S. Flag Day. Trump was born on Flag Day. Now, according to tradition, the city of Hartford, Connecticut began this patriotic custom of Flag Day on June 14, 1861. Both President Wilson in 1916 and President Coolidge in 1927 issued proclamations asking for June 14 to be observed as the National Flag Day. You know what I believe concerning God's sovereignty, that we don't worship a God of chance. None of this is by chance or coincidence. 1947, the UN partition of Palestine. 1947, the Roswell UFO phenomenon. 1948, May 14, 1948, Israel becomes a modern state fulfilling prophecy. Abraham was born 1948 years after creation. This coming May 14, 2025, Israel turns 77 years old. 1948 to 2028 is 80 years. Now, on this day, May 14, in 1607 AD, English colonists established the first permanent English settlement in America at Jamestown. On this day, also on this day, May 14, in 1787 AD, delegates gather in Philadelphia to draw up the U.S. Constitution. On this day, May 14, 2017, President Trump and the U.S. recognizes Jerusalem as Israel's capital. 1948, 1949, Arab-Israeli War. Israel has been at war 56 years out of the past 77 years. 1947, to 1956, you have the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. 1954, on June 14, Trump's birthday, as well as the other dates I mentioned, the president inserts the phrase "under God" into the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance. On Trump's 8th birthday, previously the pledge, originally written in 1892, had contained no reference to religion. These dates and numbers are strange. 1966, I'm trying to bring you up to the present. 1966, Israel goes nuclear. 1967, Six-Day War. 1969, first man on the moon. 1973, the Yom Kippur War. And in 1979, the Islamic Republic in Iran. And in 1983, the internet is invented. 1987, the Third Temple movement begins. 1987. Jump ahead to 2001. Everybody knows what happened. 9/11. Began the global war on terror. Changed America as we know it, the world as we know it. 9/11, 3 BC, birth of the Messiah. You've heard me talk about that. That's what we believe. 2001, we've got the Patriot Act. In 2005, Ahmadinejad declares before the United Nations that Israel must be wiped off the map. 2008, Obama's change begins. 2014, ISIS declares a new Islamic caliphate. The beginning of the revival of the Ottoman Empire. 2014 and 2015, the Blood Moon Tetrad. In 2016, Blessed Hope Forever was founded. And all of these events occurred in the Hebrew year 5777. 2017, the Revelation 12 sign. Also in 2017, the total solar eclipse, Great American Solar Eclipse over the United States. From a biblical standpoint, the symbolism of any eclipse, every eclipse, represents the incarnate Son of God. The glory of the eternal, majestic God of all creation was veiled in human form, much as the moon temporarily hides the light of the sun. Its duration shadows the brief life of our Lord. Every single solar eclipse since the crucifixion can be seen as a portent of judgment swallowed up by mercy. The darkness cannot block the sun for long. Just as the tomb couldn't hold Jesus for long. The parallel is unmistakable between the light of the sun failing and the Son being forsaken by his Father. But once Jesus had finished his work and paid the full penalty for your sin, the darkness of his eclipse ended and the sun returned. 2017, President Trump begins his first term. Also, in 2017, President Trump, as well as the U.S., recognizes Jerusalem as Israel's capital. We weren't raptured. We were hoping to be, but we're still here. So time drifted on. And I suggested that the wheels of prophecy often turn slowly. God had much yet to do. God wasn't ready yet. In hindsight, we can see that. 2019, lawlessness abounds in the U.S. on an unprecedented level. 2019, the COVID-19 pandemic. 2020 as well. Democrats, I'm going to go ahead and say it, they steal the election. And in 2020, the Constitution is shredded right before your eyes. In 2020, the phrase "under God" was skipped during the Pledge of Allegiance at the Democratic National Convention. August 20, 2020, 3 years after the August 21st, 2017 total solar eclipse. Remember, 1954, June 14, 1954, President Eisenhower inserts the phrase "under God" into the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance. And he does that on Trump's 8th birthday. We're talking about a God who's in absolute control of every single event that occurs in mankind's history. 1954 to 2024 is 70 years. So we went on, anxiously awaiting his return, to the year 2020, when the Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan called for the reestablishment of the Islamic Caliphate. It had to happen. It had to happen. We're looking at the revived Ottoman Empire. January 6, 2021, the U.S. Capitol, insurgency, I'll just use that word, or fiasco. 2021, U.S. government admits UFOs are real. 2022, Russia invades Ukraine. Also in 2022, the red heifers arrive in Israel. Also in 2022, the Supreme Court of the United States reverses Roe versus Wade. And also in 2022, the U.S. debt exceeded $31 trillion. In 2023, Hamas attacks Israel on Vladimir Putin's birthday, October 7th. Hamas attacks Israel October the 7th, 2023. If you calculate that to her birthday, May 14, 2024, it's 7 months, 7 days. This had to happen. Are we looking at the fulfillment, or the beginning of it, of Psalm 83? Psalm 83, fulfillment in progress. Good question. It appears so. Hamas attacks Israel October the 7th, 2023, to her birthday, Israel's birthday, May 14, 2024, 7 months, 7 days. You've heard me talk a lot about the number 7 on this channel. Believe it or not, October 7, 3761 BC, the world is created according to the Hebrew calendar. 3761 plus 2024 is 5785, the new Hebrew year that's coming up on us March 30, 2025. 2024, the second total solar eclipse over the U.S. occurs, and America is, in essence, crossed out. 2017, 2024 eclipses 7 years apart. It had to happen. The Trump 7 phenomenon. You've heard me talk a lot about the numbers that dog that man's heels. It just keeps going. Christ equals 77 in just simple gematria. 7 means perfection and completion. Israel is now fighting on 7 fronts. 2024, April 8, the second total solar eclipse over the U.S. occurs on Holocaust Remembrance Day, Yom HaShoah. Isn't that interesting? And in 2024, well, Trump was elected for a second term. Had to happen. Had to happen. 2024, 2025, an increase in UAP sightings, unidentified aerial phenomenon. And in 2024, we had a rare Hanukkah-Christmas conjunction. They both fell on the same date. That's very rare that occurs. 2025, we're now in the year 2025, January 6th. January 6th, just the other day, President Trump is certified on the very anniversary of the January 6th attempted coup d'etat, 4 years to the day. You remember the August 21st, 2017 total solar eclipse? Well, to the 2024 U.S. presidential election, November the 5th, 2024, 7 years, 77 days. The 2024 election, November 5, to Trump being sworn in January 20, this month, 77 days. Do you think God's trying to get our attention? Trump sworn in January 20, 2025 to Nisan 1, March 30, the spiritual new year, 5785, 70 days. And this year, 2025, in July, we reached the the solar maximum. This year in July. Judah, from whom Israel is named after, the fourth son of Jacob and Leah, born 3589 years ago, as of this year, on the 15th of Sivan, 1565 BC. He died on the same date, 119 years later in Egypt, on 15 Sivan, 1446 BC. The biblical date for the Exodus is 1446 BC. King David was also born and died on the same date. According to the Talmud, David was born and died on Pentecost. I've pointed out how the temples run all across major events in history. I'll put the chart up for you to see, to remind you of this. showing the great significance of temples in God's plan of redemption for us. 40 times 50 Jubilees is 2,000. If you start at 32 AD, an approximate crucifixion date, to 2024 AD, that is 39.84% of 40. So the math states that we are 0.16% away from the completion of this 2,000 years. It's a rough estimate, but it's astounding. The wars, the deep state, the extreme anti-Semitism, the sharp rise, over 300% in anti-Semitism, and lawlessness and corruption and the global New World Order and all of this stuff, folks, is all connected. Nothing stands alone by itself. These sevens surround Donald J. Trump. I'll just remind you of a few. 7 months exact from the April 8, 2024 eclipse to Trump winning a second term, November the 5th, 2024. Interestingly, in Hebrew, the name Vance means God is gracious. This country's had 59 total elections held so far. After Trump, the next one will be the 60th. That's interesting. Just to let you know, remind you, I'm from Oklahoma. Trump won all 77 counties in Oklahoma for the third time. No other state has 77 counties, and even if there was another state with 77 counties, it's pretty unlikely that Trump would have won in all counties. We know there's a 7-year tribulation period, just like there were 7 years between those two eclipses. You know, you may very well be one who drops in here for a visit once every 7 days. The number 7 is an amazing, it's a sacred number. And for those skeptics out there who think, well, we're playing around with fire here, let me tell you, biblical numerology is an elective course in many, many Bible colleges today. There's a difference between that and the occult and their use of numbers. I'm going to suggest at this point that a careful reading of Revelation 12, the entire chapter, the woman and the dragon, all 17 verses, which we were so awakened to back in 2017, I'm going to suggest that this is a picture of prophetic events that play out over a period of nearly 2,000 years, going from the birth of the Messiah to the end of the tribulation period. It was never meant to be an event, it was a sign. And we didn't miss it. There are a great number of remarkable numbered coincidences relating to not just Donald Trump and Israel, and the number 7, which could not be human engineered. Seven, the number 7. As many of you know, it means perfection, completion. That is why our calendar and work week is 6 days and resting on the 7th. Same logic with years. 6,000 years, labor. 1,000 year millennium. 7,000 years from creation to new creation. And 8, the number 8, represents a new beginning. I think that we will soon be taken up in that new beginning. Dearly beloved, 1 out of every 30 verses in the New Testament mentions the blessed return and our blessed hope of our Lord Jesus Christ. May God's blessings, His peace, rest upon you as we continue to await His glorious return.